Today I'm going to talk to you about a few options you have within Google. So everyone knows this screen of Google. So we type in a search such as healthy diet. So what you will see in a Google search is kind of a variety of things will determine what you see. So there's popularity of the link, how many times it's been visited, how much the site has been promoted. And also there is your prior searches, which will determine kind of what information Google thinks you will find most helpful. So when you type in healthy diet, you might not get the same screen as me because you have a different search history than I do. So that's the most common way. And you can see here there are, I think, some perhaps good sites. Wikipedia is not a good site. So you've probably heard this quite often in maybe prior classes or in high school and maybe don't really know why. The reason why Wikipedia would not be a good source to use in an academic paper is because we use sources in academic paper so that other people can visit the source and get that same information if they think it's useful for them. So thinking in terms of being a scholar versus being a student. And Wikipedia is not a static website. So you use this Wikipedia entry today, it might look very different tomorrow. So this is not a static source. So you want sources that can be verified whenever you use them in an academic paper, meaning if when I visit this source, it's going to say exactly the same thing. If it says something different, then I might question whether you use the source accurately. Or you maybe cited something that I find really fascinating and now I look at the site and it's not here. So Wikipedia is a great place to find sources. If you scroll all the way down to all these references, these are fabulous. These are the most helpful thing you will find or be able to use within Wikipedia for a research paper. So you can find a lot of great guidance and background information. And background information is always great whenever you're entering a research project because it gives you background knowledge. And the more background knowledge you have, the more connections you're going to be able to make when you do a reading. So Wikipedia is definitely a useful tool. So I'm not going to say it's bad, but because of the reasons I said earlier, it's not a source you want to use in an academic paper. All right, so that's our basics with Google. You know, the homepage we're all familiar with and our old friend Wikipedia. What you might not realize is there is an advanced Google search. And you can just type in google.com advanced_search. So it looks very much like you would find when you did the library database, that kind of Boolean keyword searches. And it also helps you limit what type of website you get. So you can do the keywords where you're getting exact wording or any of the wording or none of the wording. Or you can pick what kind of site you want. So for example, a .edu site. So let's try that again. Healthy. And I want it to be, actually, I don't want all these words. I want this exact phrase, healthy diet. Excuse me, I'm typing one-handed and I'm not doing a great job. So now you see a very different search result where you're getting just from .edu sites like Harvard, Vanderbilt, University of Maryland Medical Center. And whenever you see a .edu site, of course, that indicates some level of credibility unless it's a student personal page, then it's not so credible. But if it's actually the university publishing it and the experts within the university, then it's very something you can trust. Now you could go to Google and do this exact thing using the quotation marks to indicate you want the exact words. And this time, instead of .edu, So you do colon, I'm going to do .gov. So you can do this through the Google search itself if you know how to type in the right words or present them in the right way. And now I just got things that are presented by the government. So you have the American Health Association, the Center for Disease Control, for example. So that's the advanced Google search tool. So very helpful, especially when you're sorting through large kind of topics such as like a healthy diet. So Google Scholar is another type of search engine. So you can just go to scholar.google.com as well. So I type in healthy diet here. And I get everything that comes from academic journals. So quite a bit of a different type of source and a lot more specific. So these are always kind of based on a lot of research. So they'll look at a certain group of people, or they'll do like long-term studies. So these are always very helpful, but they're also much longer. So instead of a web page that's like 3 screens full of text, you're going to get a journal that's like 32 pages. But that just means it's more in-depth information. So good to have, and it's something you're going to have to build towards to read, because it is definitely a little bit more difficult to read. So the last thing I want to show you through our friend Google is the news function. So the benefit of the news function is that you have a great level of currency. So anything that's going to be in the news section under Google is things that have currently come out, like new studies, new guidelines, new diets. So that is always a good thing to keep in mind, especially if you have a search topic like dietary, like healthy diet, because that's something that's changed quite often. Like it's always continually being modified. Like things that were being said 5 years ago are not being said now as much. So whenever you're in the news section and you see this explore in depth, that's going to take you into a really more specific targeted area. So now we're just looking at Mediterranean diets. So this is kind of like when you were doing the library database and you clicked on the left there when it says find similar sources. This helps you be a little bit more targeted. So if you find a subject that you really like, you can explore it in depth, which is exactly what we want to do when we do research. All right, so those are the 3 things I wanted to highlight and show you about Google: the advanced Google search, Google Scholar, and keeping in mind the difference between web and news. So hopefully you can find something good. When you do find a source, you are going to have to evaluate it to prove that it's credible, because this is now not something that's coming off the library databases. So the internet has no editor, so any information could be put up there. So you always have to make sure it is credible. So this is a worksheet that's linked in e-learning that you're going to have to use to, I guess, argue why the source you chose is credible. All right, so I look forward to seeing what you find.